So again, welcome America, hello Bowling Green. For today we are going to learn about relevant cost. I mean, is it a comfort thing? I do that in the dentist chair. I actually will hold on to my phone in the dentist chair just to give you something to do. You know, something to think about besides what they're doing to me. And so, I feel like sometimes you all are doing the same thing. So let's talk about relevant costs. Okay, let's talk about relevant costs. Page 155 in the handy handbook, at least as of this presentation. Yes, sir?
Did you start recording?
I think so. I'll double check. Yeah, it looks like it's rolling. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's like, and it's so small that the people who are close can't see it. But I can start the recording. Have you looked at any of them? But thank you for reminding me, nonetheless. Thank you for reminding me, nonetheless. And so, I mean, maybe someday, for old time's sake, they'll always be there. They'll always be there, so you can always go back and listen to him say, I can tell he can't wait to be done with the class, and then actually just go back and listen to the lectures for fun. And so, but you know, I have students who, I mean, I do this sort of a thing in other classes where I give you a handy handbook and teach the class that way. And I have students years later ask me for a fresh copy of that book. And you can always go watch the videos and learn stuff. So, yep. So let's talk about relevant cost. What is a relevant cost? A relevant cost is a cost that is avoidable, okay? So what is a relevant cost? A relevant cost is a cost that is avoidable. I suppose I can write something on the board just so it's, the board isn't blank for the entire video. A relevant cost. Let's see if that shows up on my video. Sure does. So a relevant cost is, oh, there we are. Adjust the camera just a little bit. A relevant cost is a cost that is avoidable. Does that seem kind of bland? It'll be more clear when we talk about examples. So a sunk cost is a cost already incurred. A sunk cost is a cost already incurred. So, yes, sir?
It says sunk cost as well.
Jackson, what's a sunk cost?
A cost already incurred.
A cost already incurred. Do you know what the word incurred means, Blake?
Oh, like already happened?
Already happened. That's exactly right. Incurred cost. So it's a cost that's already happened. So, and despite the fact that I'm using the word cost, you can think about it as anything that you've spent, such as, have you spent any time in this class this semester? That is time that is now, at this point in time, that is time now sunk. That economically, that has no bearing upon whether or not you stay for the rest of the class. Why might you be interested in staying and continuing to attend classes until the end of the semester? Because there are grades yet to be earned, right? That's what is relevant. The grades yet to be earned, not the things that have already occurred. And those grades yet to be earned will have an effect on your final grade, right? So the past is economically irrelevant. The future is relevant. And that past can be money already spent or time already these things. Okay. Sunk cost. Oh, and let me say this. So what is a sunk cost again? Danny?
Cost that is already happened.
Cost that's already happened. Is that cost avoidable, Corey? No. So are sunk costs relevant? No. That's an important thing to recognize. Are sunk costs relevant? No. Okay. So what is an opportunity cost? That's going to be the next thing we define. An opportunity cost is a potential benefit foregone. Potential benefit foregone. F-O-R-E-G-O-N-E. Foregone. Potential benefit foregone. Hermes, what's foregone, man?
Something that you could have done but you didn't do. Like, an opportunity you didn't take.
Something you gave up. Potential benefit foregone. So what did you give up, say, to be in class right now? Sleep. 75% of the time, that is the first answer I receive to that question. And it doesn't matter what time of day it is. It does not matter what time of day it is. And so, is that relevant? Yeah. Right? Yeah. I mean, true story, I've been up since 2 a.m. When your spouse gets up, sometimes you get up too, whether you want to or not. I wouldn't mind having some of that sleep back, but that is a benefit foregone. So let's talk relevant cost, sunk cost, and opportunity cost. Those are the words we're defining. What did you give up? Olivia, what have you given up to be a full-time student this semester?
Work.
Are you Olivia?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
A job work full-time, right? I'm presuming even if you are working a lot while you're a student, you could have potentially had a different, better job, right? Higher paying job during this time if you weren't working, right? So why did you choose? Yeah. Why?
I think that I could really do a better job.
I'd like to think that's the right answer. Okay? Why are you here? You all gave up work to be here. You could be earning money right now instead of spending money. You could be earning money. Maybe you wouldn't be the most glamorous work, but you could be doing it. So why did you come to school? It was the same reason I did, right? I grew up on farms. That was not what I wanted to do for a living for my entire life. And so I gave up working full-time on farms so I could go to college and do exactly what Olivia said, hopefully get a better job, right? And so over the course of your career, over the course of your lifetime, you can reasonably, most of you can reasonably expect to earn more because you went to college than you would have if you had not. Is that universally true? No, actually. There are, if you read The Millionaire Next Door, which is probably a pretty old dated book at this point, but there are a lot of millionaires in the world who during their 4 years of college were building a business that grew into something that made them a millionaire at some point in time in their life, sometimes surprisingly young. And so they avoided college and became a millionaire, but for most of us, me included, an education changed my life. Right? It changed my life. It made me something very, very different than anything, than basically anyone else in my family. And so, and I'm very grateful for that. But that is why you're here, isn't it? So you give up income today for more income tomorrow. So what's the opportunity cost of being a full-time student? What you gave up? That income you gave up to be a student. Okay? Is that relevant? Let me ask that question. Nate is not here. Sailor's not here. Stella, is that relevant? I'd say yeah as well. Can you quit school and go to work full time? Any day you want to. Right? Any day you want to. So is that relevant? The money that you're giving up? Yes. Because, yeah, that's relevant. Something to think about, isn't it? So incremental cost equals avoidable cost equals differential cost equals relevant. So all those terms mean the same thing. Okay, really funny. Incremental cost equals avoidable cost equals differential cost equals relevant cost. You're gonna write something down. Why aren't you writing it in here? Cool. But you might turn the page. So you know that's an actual defining word. It's on the page. So incremental cost equals avoidable cost equals differential cost equals relevant cost. Actually, I might, if I were a student in my own class, like I never experienced anything like I do. If I was a student in my class, I might do exactly what you do, but I really encourage you to write it in your handbook today. Actually, which is what I would have done. I rewrote every page of notes I ever took in college for 4 years. And so probably what I would have done is write them on a separate sheet of paper and then copy them in the handbook more neatly. Is probably what I would have done as a student. So incremental cost equals an avoidable cost equals a differential cost equals a relevant cost. Basically, all those things mean the same thing. So it's a really important concept to try and understand if there's so many darned ways to describe it, okay? So let's talk about an example, or yet another example. Today's gonna be kind of conceptual examples, and then we'll start doing some numbers next class period. So, I lived in Abilene, Texas for a while. And while there, I owned and drove a light blue Honda Civic. The first new car I ever owned. And I parked it in the driveway. My bicycles, which were more expensive, they got the garage, you know. And so, so it was parked in the driveway, and one morning I walked outside, and lo and behold, my car was kind of chassis on the ground, wheels not quite right, and in a moment of frustration, I poured gasoline on it, set it on fire, and reduced it to ashes.
Why?
Because I was frustrated.
Yeah, but why take it on the car?
It's the car's fault, obviously. And so,
Is this an actual true story?
did I say that?
I don't know.
I've never had that. Like, just to ease your conscience, no. There are elements of the story that are true and elements that are false. I'll let you all decide which are which. What?
You gotta go to anger management if that's true.
But the point is, I have no car. I need a car. Have no car, need a car. Has anybody been to Abilene, Texas? Anybody in here?
What's it close to? I've been to Texas.
What's it close to? That's the point. It's not close to nothing.
Okay, so
Yeah, it's 2.5 hours from everywhere. And so, although it is roughly the geographic center of the state. And so they have the Texas High School Rodeo Champion, a lot of rodeo championships for the state of Texas. including like the high school rodeo championships happened at the facility in Abilene because it was roughly the center for Houston and El Paso and Lubbock and Tyler to all go to Abilene. You know, it's 6 hours for all of those people. All within the state of Texas, by the way. So, but anyway, so I need a car. I don't have a car. Let's put it in the proper order. I don't have a car. I need a car. And I reduced my choices to 2. At the time, I looked at a Volkswagen Passat station wagon and a BMW 3 Series station wagon. Okay? Which of those 2 would be more expensive, Carson?
Random guess at the end of
It's a good random guess. I think, generally speaking, I think we assume BMWs are more expensive than, generally speaking, on average, BMWs are going to be more expensive than the Volkswagens, and so that was true in this case as well. And so I reduced my choice to those 2. The BMW is more expensive. Then the question is, what is relevant to my decision about which car to buy? So,
How much you're willing to spend?
on what?
The car, like either the cars, like what your minimum spending price would be.
Let's think about this now. That's a great question. What my minimum sell price would be is the full price of both cars relevant? Veronica, what's the definition of relevant?
It's a cost that's avoidable.
Cost that's avoidable. As I have told the story, can I avoid the cost of the less expensive car? Max? No. Why?
I mean, you can always walk.
I suppose, but it's a heck of a long walk to get anywhere outside of Abilene. I mean, it's a 2.5-hour drive to get anywhere outside of Abilene. So can I avoid not having a car if you live in Abilene, Texas? No. I mean, if you live in downtown Chicago, do people live in downtown Chicago without a car? Lots and lots and lots. Why? Because everything's so close. Good public transportation. I know people who, if they needed a car and they lived in downtown Chicago, they just rented one for whatever period of time, and that was cheaper than owning and paying rent on a parking spot. But if you're in Abilene, Texas, the land is cheap, the driving distance is not. And so in Abilene, Texas, you cannot really live without means of transportation, whether that be bicycle, horse, or car. So I needed a car. So is the cost of the Volkswagen, which Connor said was, not Connor, I've done that all semester, I'm sorry. We got to peek, because I now get Carson, which Carson said was, yeah, Connor Carson. I like once I get names messed up, it takes me a long time to get it sorted out. I knew I did it wrong, but I couldn't fix it. But Carson said the Volkswagen was the cheaper one, the BMW was more expensive. Can I avoid buying the Volkswagen? I cannot, can I? So is that avoidable? No. Is that relevant then? No, is it? It's not relevant. That's kind of an odd concept, but it's not relevant to my decision. Not because I framed the decision as I'm going to buy one of these 2 cars, and I need a car because I live in Abilene, Texas. That money I'm going to spend for that Volkswagen really isn't avoidable. I need that car. What is avoidable? What?
Like the difference.
The difference between the 2 is avoidable, right? I don't have to buy the BMW. Okay? So that would be the relevant cost of my decision, would be the additional cost of the BMW over the Volkswagen. However, why might I still choose to buy a BMW, right? Why do you think I might choose to buy a BMW? What would be a benefit of buying a BMW rather than a Volkswagen?
Because you like it more.
Because I like it more. What might I like about it more?
The brand, I guess, or just like the quality.
The quality might be higher. What were you gonna say? Probably last longer. Maybe not now. But it was a while back. I thought so. What else? Ian?
Maybe you like the image of a big
Image. Well, I was single at the time. You know, which one is more likely to, I mean, there's two ways to frame it, right? Which one's gonna not hurt my dating chances, or which one might help my dating chances, right? You know, we'll just leave that lay there then, since no one wants to engage with it, and I'm cool with that. But in general, I think one of them might have a little, you know, it kind of might not hurt me as bad as the other one. And so that was something to think about. Yeah, so relevant costs, relevant benefits. Okay. Now, I would have told you this eventually, but you all got really riled up and excited when I told the original version of that story. The real version of the story is not that I set my car on fire. Just the real version of the story is I purchased a second car. One driver, 2 cars. Insurance is remarkably not that expensive because it's the driver being insured more so than the car. And so, and in Texas at the time, you know, particularly, I made room in the garage for that new, you know, if I were to make room in the garage for the new car, marginal, you know, the additional insurance wasn't very expensive. I could own 2 cars. And so, because the thing is that in the real version of the story, that Honda had 120,000 miles on it, 120,000 miles on it. It was getting a little rickety. And Abilene, Texas is indeed 2.5 miles from 2.5 hour drive from everywhere. And I drove a few places. And so it was getting unsteady enough that I thought I wanted something a little nicer for when I needed to go out of town. And so I purchased a second car. And once again, my choices were that Volkswagen and that BMW. Now, is the cost of the Volkswagen relevant? Okay. Are you Peyton? You are not Peyton. Well, then you're not going to ever talk to me if I call you Peyton. Grace,
Yes.
why is it relevant?
Because you're comparing it to the price of the
No. Why is it relevant, Connor?
I'm not gonna lie, I got lost and started thinking about something else while you were telling me that.
Uh-oh.
I was thinking about how I shouldn't pay for car insurance.
How you shouldn't pay for car insurance.
Yeah, I mean, like, I have a $2,000 car. I don't really need car insurance.
Because if you kill somebody,
Yeah, but I'm not planning on that. I don't think that's
I
something we
just-
should plan on.
I understand. Nobody plans
I
on
do
it.
that all the time.
Yeah.
I got other problems if I've killed someone. I'm not really worried about the
but
price.
that's why you get insurance.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was.
Yeah. Just FYI.
Yeah.
And that and because if you don't got it, you might.
Yeah. I
There's
mean,
other issues.
Yeah, that's the whole trade.
Yeah. So, but the thing is that if I own a car and I'm thinking about buying a second car, is the cost of that second car, which happens to be a Volkswagen, is that cost of that car relevant?
Yes.
Yes, it is. You don't think so?
No. Because
It is
It's
now
not-
relevant. It is now relevant because I can avoid it. I do have a car. Right? I do have a car. So I can't avoid this. I mean, I can run the risk of, you know, my car dying on a long journey, but I do have a car. So this now becomes relevant and avoidable. Okay? And so notice what I have done. The purpose for this is this been entertaining.
Yeah.
What part has been most entertaining?
The story that you just told.
The story that I just told. Which part of it?
How you burned your car.
That how I burned my car. That's attention grabbing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I hope it's not true.
I already said. Were you not listening?
You said that some of it's true and some of it's not. So.
But I did, when I introduced the second part, when I said I bought a second car, I said, I did not burn my car.
I missed that one.
Yeah, the true story is I did not burn my car.
Yeah.
I bought a second car.
It's good to know you're not a maniac.
Yeah, exactly. But why did I tell the story? I tell the story like that to frame two different decisions, right? There's one decision where I don't have a car. Jackson, this is really exciting stuff. And he's texting somebody like
Yeah.
all the cool stuff he's learning
I
in
actually
Slack.
borrowed buddy's calculator. He needs it.
Well, have him come in. We'll say hello. It's like, no, come on, just have him come in. We'll say hello. I'll greet him. I'll make him feel welcome. But no, I'm not getting kind of excited. But if I have a car, then the purchase of a second car is relevant. And so again, the reason for the burned car story is I want one example of I have no car and need a car. And in that situation, is the cost of the Volkswagen relevant? No. However, if I own a car and I'm buying a second car, is the cost of the Volkswagen relevant? Yes. So, if I ask you the question, a hypothetical question on a test, is the cost of the Volkswagen relevant? What's the correct answer? It depends. Right? And so, and then I'll get to your question. So the important thing to realize is you've got to read these questions and look for what is relevant, which is to say what is avoidable. What's your question?
So in the first story, it's relevant, and in the second story, it's not relevant.
Backwards. In the first story, the cost of the Volkswagen was zero because I needed a car. I had 0 cars, I needed one. In the second story, I had 1 car, I was thinking about 2.
So it's not.
It is relevant. It is not relevant in the first story, but it is in the second.
It is in the second.
Yeah. You're just gonna memorize that or try to understand that?
I was just that confused. I was trying to understand.
Okay. How are you feeling about that? What's that mean?
Good.
Good. So what car did I buy? True story. Those were the 2 cars that I was looking at. The BMW, of course. I was a single guy. But no, really what really surprised me was Volkswagen at the time, I wanted 2 things on this vehicle. I was a guy, I wanted kind of nice looking wheels because I thought that would spruce up the look of the Volkswagen, of the station wagon, you know what I mean? Very important. And 2, I wanted a nicer stereo. And so on the Volkswagen, in order to get just those 2 things, I had to purchase every option on the vehicle because the stereo upgrade was in option package A and the wheel upgrade was in option package B, and they only had 2 option packages, so you had to buy every option on the vehicle, including a bunch of options that I actively didn't want, in order to, including like a sunroof, which looks cool until it leaks. And so I had to buy every option package on the vehicle to get the 2 things that I wanted. Whereas I went and randomly looked up, I don't even know how I got there, but I was on the BMW website, wound up on the BMW website, and a bare bones